they perforate. All right? So they're trying to represent this perforation that will occur. So they're termed bulkments, canals. The ones that run horizontally, okay, are going to be bulkments, because the one running vertically between the osteon is my Haversian. Okay, does that make sense? So hopefully keep the structures in mind. What this does, okay, is it gives access to a blood supply, because these cells, this organ, this tissue, breaks down, builds up, and those osteocytes, what look like the little ants, okay, in the lacuna are busy. They're maintaining that tissue, that bone. So therefore, they need nutrients, which we need a blood supply for that. We need to get rid of waste, and we need a blood supply for that. So this structure, having the blood supply up, down, side to side, allows for access to the bloodstream. Does that make sense? Those osteons, the Haversian system, yes, it's a blood vessel. It's also termed a central canal because it runs right down through the middle. Now, I mentioned the concentric lamella and the interstitial, and I tried to point out those will also have osteocytes. Okay, so I tried to show that we've got the osteon, the layers between osteons, and the layers all the way around. Okay, and they're all alive. Okay, they're all made up of the same cells. The blood vessels definitely bring in nutrients. They definitely get rid of the waste, all right? And they do this by way of the fluids that would be found in a matrix. Okay? If you remember, the matrix contains the materials needed for the tissue. Yes, no, maybe. Okay. So, but the blood circulation in bone is going to be the skeletal system. Every time the heart pumps, receives a significant amount of blood flow. Okay, so it has a high blood circulation within it. The way that we're going to classify bones, we're going to classify them as being long, short, flat, or irregular. So all the bones of the body, they will fall into one of these classifications. A long bone, for example, the humerus that I'm using, okay? Think of the bones of these extremities, all right? The humerus, the radius, the ulna, the femur, the tibia, the fibula, okay? These are long bones. A short bone, think about what we have in the wrist and the feet, okay? The ankles, tarsals, carpals. Flat bones, good example, ribs, sternum, the skull, scapula. Everything else is going to be considered irregular, like facial bones and the vertebrae. When we talk about the structure of a long bone, the structure of a long bone has different parts that make it up. The shaft, okay, this portion right here, is also known as the diaphysis. The epiphysis will be the ends of the long bone. During growth, when you're looking at the one place that they usually represent the growth plate, they usually, on models, usually they represent it at the prox. This one's not representing it very well at all. Let me get my glasses. Okay. They're kind of representing it on this one, the femur. See that line? See that line? Okay. See that line that they're showing? Okay. That line. See that line? That line. Okay. That is going to be the area that is going to represent the epiphyseal plate. Now, what that's important for, babies get here, they're mostly cartilage, meaning this has to harden and it has to grow, okay? One area that really allows for lengthening of the bone is what's known as the epiphyseal plate. So it'll be a section of this long bone. But when you're an adult and you have reached your full height, it forms the line because it's completely hardened now. It's not hyaline, okay? So the epiphyseal plate will lead to the epiphyseal line. The cavity that's existing is going to be the medullary cavity. In children, all of their bones are red bone marrow, meaning they are making tons of blood cells because they have to build their immunity. They need the blood cells to go to tissues of their body so that they can get their nutrients so they can grow. Okay? When my grandchildren were younger, like 3, 4, 5, it was like every 20 minutes, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. And I'm going, you just ate. You can't be hungry. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. And then, of course, now that they're moving into their teenage years, okay, my grandson, he definitely can stay hungry, okay? My granddaughter, not quite as much, okay? But it's like, okay, I know why y'all are hungry, all right? So, you know, the goal, of course, is to make sure they get enough of their nutrients because they need it, all right? You don't want them overeating, you know, where they're going to have the obesity problems and stuff, but you want them getting enough because, oh my goodness, their bodies are busy, okay, to say the least. Their bodies are very busy. And I'm like, you know, okay, luckily you know, both of them tend to do really good with not being the, like, eating a lot of the junk foods and stuff. They'll eat more healthy and that sort of thing, so I'm kind of proud of them with that. But yes, they are busy, and already my granddaughter's my height, and I'm like, oh man, she's gonna be taller than her grandma, and so well, my grandson too. So we're gonna see that this is the point for the bone marrow. As we get older, that's not the case anymore. Okay, it's not all red marrow. A lot of it becomes the yellow marrow, which is the fat of the bone. And that happens because as we get older and we've reached our full height and we've made the cells that are going to become part of the immune system, okay, they're pretty much done. All right, so the thymus begins to shrink and other things happen. We don't need to produce those cells anymore, those blood cells. One of the things that I also tried to mention was these connective tissue wrappings, our periosteum, our endosteum, okay? The periosteum, I tried to point out that it had to create these fibers that penetrate into the bone, and that helps that connective tissue wrapping to be stable against the bone. So it contains osteoblast, osteoclast, osteochondral progenitor cells, my stem cells. Okay, those are known as the stem cells for the bone and the cartilage. Those fibers that I was pointing out, Sharpies fibers, so that they can penetrate into the bone, helping keep the attachment close to the bone. The endosteum, very similar, but it's on the spongy bone, which is what we were trying to show with our models right there. So if we begin to think about the long bones, these are the parts I want you to be familiar with. I want you to be familiar with diaphysis, the shaft portion, epiphysis, ends. Be familiar with that connective tissue wrapping, periosteum. Be familiar with the wrapping around the spongy, the endosteum. Do you remember us talking about articular cartilage? Okay, what was that? Does anybody remember? The blue right at the end. Okay, basically that cartilage, okay, this articular cartilage, this begins to break down a lot as people get older, okay? It leads to the joint problems that we may see, like arthritis, for example. Note, we've got some on the back of the patella, okay? The knee, oh my goodness, anybody in here ever had knee problems? What was yours? Okay, but was it like meniscus or the ACL or the meniscus? Who else raised your hand? Vashkana, did you raise your hand?
I just sprained it.
Sprained it? Okay, okay. Devon, did you raise your hand? Me? Well, meniscus, I've got the softening of the patella going on, my hyaline cartilage, you know, hey, but look, just letting y'all know what you get to look forward to, okay? But I also told y'all that I did have the stem cell injection, right? Okay, so, you know, that's one of the things that's making huge difference for a lot of people, okay? Because those stem cells that got injected, they were not stem cells that I'm mentioning here. These were stem cells that were collected from amniotic fluid and inserted, and what they do is they become the tissue of the knee. It's really cool what happens. So articular